It was just, I mean, it completely changed the way I work. Obviously, I share what I've learned from Jamie and the impact. I mean, the core scores were just crazy. I mean, the drop in terms of, so somebody starting off with quite extreme psychological distress and just dropping right back into the normal clinical population. To get that kind of a drop, it was just completely mind-blowing. I was fully qualified, but most of my practice was like within the voluntary sector. So I had loads and loads of clientele, like 200, because you need them to qualify. But I wanted, in my mind, it was like, oh, I want to set up my own private practice. But I wasn't seeming to take any steps towards it. Because a year on, I still wasn't doing any private client work. I was still seeing clients, but just not charging, because I enjoyed the work. So I thought, well, I don't want to stop doing that. If I stop doing that, I'm not really a therapist. So I would do it alongside my paid roles, which is a manager of a counselling agency in town, which I mean, I did enjoy, but I wanted to kind of shift over. Because I'm not familiar with the coaching world, I'd gone into it as wanting to do that work and, kind of help people, and thinking that I'd be good at it. And so I was firstly shocked. It was a complete eye-opener in terms of the packages and the prices people were charging. Because to me, in the world I was in, you charged £40 an hour, £35 an hour, 50 if you were really going to be shooting for a higher mark. So I think that was the first thing. I was like, what the is going on here? So that was quite interesting. I mean, and also I knew that Jamie was speaking about a way of working that I wasn't familiar with. So it was two things. One was actually the way he was practicing and what he was doing, which I knew I didn't really quite get. And two, it was the practical that, oh my goodness, I can do so much more with this. I mean, the coach training, I had no idea what I was going into. I'm completely honest. You sometimes just have this thing that I've got to do this. Not quite sure why, but I've just got to do this. So, but it was just, I mean, it completely changed the way I work for a start, because I think within the first month, I got my first couple of paying clients, because I was on things like the BACP's website and the counselling directory. So certain places where I was just sitting, not actively marketing, but just there. So I started using what I was learning very, very quickly. And I was using it throughout that 9-month training. I just had loads of clients come through. I managed to get some contracts, sort of where they just regularly provided clients. So it really gave me an opportunity to really work using in a principle-based way. And more importantly, just to see the result. And I honestly, even if you ask me now, well, how does it work? Well, what am I doing? Sometimes I don't know. I don't know what it is I say. I don't know what it is they hear. But obviously I share what I've learned from Jamie and the impact, because I have contracts with like EAP, employment assistance agencies, and they do need feedback. So you've got to send through scores, and I mean, the core scores were just crazy. I mean, the drop in terms of, so somebody starting off with quite extreme psychological distress and just dropping right back into the normal clinical population. I hadn't seen it. I'd not seen it, not in my own practice for the few years that I was working voluntarily, but also, in my job, I had an oversight of lots of counsellors, because that was my role, to monitor their work. And to get that kind of a drop, it was just completely mind-blowing. I mean, I think for me, the biggest thing I took from it was, because I was so keen to do this work and make an impact with this work, and I think it was just the fact that I'm doing that. I mean, with every client, I mean, I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know what it's going to look like. But, I know that by the time they finish that work, their lives are going to have been improved massively. And obviously it's because you're working with principles in terms of the way the mind works. And so I think that's been the biggest thing for me. Yeah, I mean, it's been massive. I can't imagine if I hadn't done it, because I think it's that certainty that Jamie talks about. I know that I can make an impact. And I didn't know that before. I knew that sometimes something happens. I think you disconnect with them and they'd hear something or see something and there'd be an improvement. But with this, it's just that knowing that, you know, they'll see it and it's going to shift things for them. But yeah, it was very much about making an impact in my work. And to be honest, yeah, charge for it. I have started to shift my focus a bit more actually, just over the past few weeks on building more of an online presence and a niche in addition to the work that I'm doing with clients. Oh, and I left my job. That was the other thing that I wanted. I wanted to do this, to generate income from this. When I did the coaching at the front of the room with Jamie, I just couldn't see it. I couldn't see how can I leave this job and make enough money? So that's quite a big thing too, to be able to transition and earn income from it. No, I had contracts in place. And I also noticed that I was just getting private clients myself as well. And they were coming, a lot of them were coming through referrals too. I pretty much knew that I'd matched it. I knew I'd matched my income. Yeah, I think on a personal level, it's just, I think I've just eased into life. I don't know how to explain it. It just seems, I'm just so much more engaged in life. And I'm less highly strung. Jump on the course. Just go on this training and sort your head out.